issued a 3-year convertible bond, issued the bond at par. Because the bond is issued at par, there is no premium. There is no discount. It is issued for 50 million. No issue costs. So the proceeds of issue are 50. The coupon rate is 10%. So therefore we are paying out 5, 5, 5 every year. The bond is redeemable at par. So again, there is no premium. These are perfectly normal things. The bondholders can opt for a fixed number of shares for a fixed amount of consideration. So the option is equity because it is fixed for fixed. If there was no such attractive option to convert, the effective rate of interest, the coupon rate would have to be 15%. The effective rate of interest is 15%. So I've received 50,000 or 50 million. What I've then got to do is to split those proceeds between the debt and equity element. So I will measure the debt at the fair value. I shall measure the debt at the present value of the future cash flow. Now, there are 3 years of debt. There are 3 years this instrument is in circulation. And in the first year, you would pay 5. In the second year, you would pay 5. And in the third year, you would have an obligation to pay 55. That is 10% of the 50. 10% of the 50. 10% of the 50 plus the 50. Because it's a 3-year bond. This would then be discounted at the effective rate of 1.15, at 1.15 to 2, at 1.15 to the 3. And this would then give you the present value of your future cash flow. So your 5,000 divided by 1.15 is therefore giving me something like 4348. $3,781. $36,163. And therefore I get 44,292. So that is the initial recognition of the debt element. That is the amount of the gross proceeds that we would regard as being debt. That is the amount of the gross proceeds that we would regard as being debt. And therefore, as we have received overall 50, the amount of the equity element must be the balancing figure. So the amount of the equity element is 5708. So that is the equity part. So if you like your journal entries, you are crediting debt liability by 44,292 and you're crediting equity by 5708. So that would be your double entry there. That would be what is going on. But that is all happening, this is all happening on day 1. So this is when you raise the finance. But I was interested in what the financial statements would look like in 12 months' time. So what do they look like in 12 months' time? Well, the equity element is going to remain the same. But the debt is going to be subject to your friend and mine, amortized cost. So when you think that the opening balance on the debt is 44,292, with that opening balance of 44,292, there will come a finance cost. What's the rate that you would use for the effective rate of interest? 15%. So you would take a 15% expense, 44,292, take that at 15%, and therefore that is giving you 6,644. The amount of cash that you are paying is a payment. The amount of cash that you are paying is 5. And this would then give you the closing balance. So 44,292 plus 6644 minus the payment of 5, and that gives you ultimately 45,936. So the amount of the closing liability that you have is 45,936. Back I go, back I go, back I go.
It's in 45,870.
So your starting point is 44,292. We've added on 6644, and we've taken away 5,000. So we've got 45. So we started off with 44,292. We've added on 6644. We've taken away 5,000. So I've got 45,963. Is that right?
Yes.
Where are you?
Yeah, right.
44,292 is the opening balance. Then you've got a finance cost which will increase the amount. So in terms of answering the question, the finance cost is 6644. That is the relevant charge. The equity reserve will not have changed at 5708, but the amount of the non-current liability is 45,936. So that's the impact of the financial statements of a convertible loan note. I'm just pausing here for a moment.
15% of the 15% of the 4,429.
Yeah, so the finance cost is at 15%, because that's the effective rate.
Yeah, if it's not.
Going. Please.
But the question says coupon rate 10% payable in arrears.
So the coupon rate is payable 10% in arrears, so that is what I would normally expect, that with financial instruments they're not really paid in advance, it's paid in arrears. So the coupon rate is on the nominal value. So that's where I get the 5,000 from. This 5,000, yeah, is 10% of the 50. So that gives me the cash. That gives me the cash flow. So the coupon rate times the nominal value gives me the cash. But the effective rate times the carrying value gives me the finance cost. Yeah, can? Good, excellent. I'm happy to basically